Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar, and with me is Saira Mujtaba with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts aggressive testing, local containment zones and dissemination of complete and correct information to the public are the key weapons in fight against COVID-19. More than 18 crore and 44 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. India witnesses declining trend in new COVID-19 cases, over 2,63,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate improves to 85.60%. Assam government suspends inter-district movement of persons and vehicles from Friday. Extremely severe cyclonic storm Taute weakens into severe cyclonic storm. Badrinath portals opened under strict compliance with COVID-19 protocol. Noted Tamil writer K. Rajanarayanan passes away in Puducherry. United Nations, US and UK call for more protection for civilians caught in intense violence between Israel and Palestinian militants. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, take all the precautions, and all those above 45 years who have taken the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine to get vaccinated with second dose at the scheduled time. Stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asserted that aggressive testing, local containment zones and dissemination of complete and correct information to the public are the key weapons of the country in its fight against the pandemic. The Prime Minister was interacting with field officials from various states and districts today to converse about their experience in handling the pandemic. Mr. Modi said, despite themselves being COVID positive many a times, numerous officials kept on serving the people. He added that many officials lost their relatives during the COVID surge, but they chose to continue with their service. The Prime Minister asked the district officials to send their innovative ideas of tackling the pandemic to him so that the successful models can be replicated elsewhere in the country.
अब इसलिए अगर आपको कहीं लगता है कि सरकार द्वारा बनाई पॉलिसी में जिला स्तर पर किसी इनोवेशन की जरूरत है, उस इनोवेशन में से पॉलिसी को ताकत मिलेगी, तो मेरा आपको खुली छूट है, आप जरूर कीजिए। अगर ये इनोवेशन आपके जिले की स्थानीय जरूरतों के हिसाब से है, तो उसे उसी हिसाब में करिए। अगर आपको लगता है कि आपने जो इनोवेशन किया है वो पूरे प्रदेश के लिए या पूरे देश के लिए बेनिफिशियल है, तो उसे सरकार तक भी पहुंचाइए।
The Prime Minister said that every part of the country has different sets of problems and therefore needs different solutions. Mr. Modi appreciated the local field authorities for addressing the issues in an efficient manner. He lauded the efforts of rural India for their efficient management techniques. Terming the district officials as field commanders, Mr. Modi said they have ensured effective local containment strategies to mitigate the effect of the pandemic.
आपके जिले की सफलता बाकी जिलों के लिए एक उदाहरण बन सकती है, उनकी भी मदद कर सकती है। कोरोना से निपटने के लिए जो भी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, उनको भी हमें एडॉप्ट करते चलना है। आपके बहुत से साथी ऐसे जिलों में होंगे जहां कोरोना संक्रमण पीक पर पहुंचने के बाद अब कम हो रहा है। उनके अनुभवों से सीखकर आप अपने जिलों में अपनी रणनीति को और मजबूत करते रहेंगे तो कोरोना के खिलाफ लड़ाई और आसान होगी।
The Prime Minister said the work of field officers, which include building confidence among the frontline workers and also acting against the hoarders of drugs and medical equipment, is crucial in the fight against the pandemic. He also assured the district authorities of the centre's unhindered support in terms of novel strategies to contain the infection. Mr. Modi said that the centre has reiterated in its every meeting since last year that saving every single life is of high importance.
इस समय कई राज्यों में कोरोना संक्रमण के आंकड़े कम हो रहे हैं, कई राज्यों में बढ़ भी रहे हैं। कम होते आंकड़ों के बीच हमें ज्यादा सतर्क रहने की जरूरत है। बीते एक साल में करीब करीब हर मीटिंग में मेरा यही आग्रह रहा है कि हमारी लड़ाई एक एक जीवन बचाने की है। हमारी जिम्मेदारी संक्रमण को फैलने से रोकने की भी है और ये तभी संभव है जब हमें संक्रमण की स्केल की सही जानकारी होगी।
Mr. Modi said, amidst rising cases and challenges of health infrastructure in the rural parts, the district officials are entrusted with greater responsibility of reaching out to the people. The Prime Minister emphasized that while strictly implementing the local containment guidelines, it should be ensured that people's normal life and availability of essential commodities do not suffer. He asked for proper utilization and monitoring of the oxygen supplies to the states and districts. He informed the task of setting up of oxygen plants is being actively completed in the districts using the funds allocated from PM CARES.
PM CARES के माध्यम से देश के हर जिले के अस्पतालों में ऑक्सीजन प्लांट लगाने पर तेजी से काम किया जा रहा है। कई अस्पतालों में ये प्लांट काम करना शुरू भी कर, जैसे अभी चंडीगढ़ का हमने सुना, कितना बेनिफिट हुआ उनको। और इसलिए आपसे मेरा आग्रह है कि जिस भी जिलों को ये प्लांट अलॉट होने वाले हैं, वहां हर जरूरी तैयारी पहले से पूरी होने पर ऑक्सीजन प्लांट और तेजी से सेटअप हो जाएगा।
The battle against COVID-19 across various states and districts is being led at the cutting edge by the field-level officials. Many of them have shown great initiative and come out with imaginative solutions. Through the interaction with the Prime Minister, the officials shared some best practices in addition to suggestions and recommendations for continuing the battle against COVID-19, especially in semi-urban and rural areas. The Prime Minister also called for setting up district monitoring cells in this regard for effectively bridging the gap between the supply and usage. Mr. Modi said that the country has undertaken the largest vaccination drive in the world.
कोरोना के टीके की सप्लाई को बहुत बड़े स्तर पर बढ़ाने के निरंतर प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं। वैक्सीनेशन को लेकर व्यवस्थाओं और प्रक्रियाओं को हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री लगातार स्ट्रीमलाइन कर रही है। कोशिश ये है कि अगले 15 दिन का शेड्यूल राज्यों को एडवांस में मिल जाए। इससे आपको भी पता रहेगा कि जिले में कितने लोगों के लिए वैक्सीन उपलब्ध होने जा रही है और आपको किस हिसाब से तैयारी करनी है। वैक्सीन वेस्टेज रोकने में जिला स्तर पर सही प्रबंधन की भूमिका के बारे में भी आप अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। आपके सहयोग से वैक्सीन वेस्टेज पूरी तरह रुक सकती है।
Union Home Minister and Health Minister, along with Chief Ministers of states and Union territories, including Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Uttarakhand, participated in the meeting. Officials from Karnataka, Bihar, Assam, Chandigarh, Tamil Nadu, Uttarakhand, MP, Goa, Himachal Pradesh and Delhi took part in the meeting.
India has administered over 18 crore 44 lakh COVID vaccine doses to the beneficiaries so far. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry has said that over 15 lakh 10,000 vaccine doses were administered to the beneficiaries in the 24-hour period till last evening. Meanwhile, the country is witnessing a declining trend in the number of active and fresh COVID-19 cases. However, several states and union territories are still registering a spike in cases. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry has said that over 4,22,000 patients have recovered from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate has further improved to 85.6% in the country. So far, over 2 crore 15 lakh patients have already recovered from this infectious disease. The Health Ministry has said the active cases comprise 13.29% of the cumulative positive cases. There are over 33,53,000 active cases in the country at present. Over 2,63,000 new COVID cases were reported in the last 24 hours. A total of 4,329 deaths were reported in the country during the same period. The Assam government has decided to suspend inter-district movement of persons and vehicles from Friday to prevent the surge in COVID-19 cases in the state. The State Disaster Management Authority issued an order in this direction yesterday. The Health Department has advised COVID patients who are aged 50 years and above or with comorbidities to go for institutional isolation instead of home isolation. The Health Department has asked such patients to receive 7 days of institutional isolation under medical supervision and 7 days of home isolation after discharge. A report.
Along with strict home isolation rule, the Assam government suspended inter-district movement for a period of 15 days or until further order from Friday. However, the restrictions on inter-district movement would not apply to government officials, emergency and essential services, and COVID-19 vaccination. Movement of goods will also remain unaffected. Assam has reported over 6,000 cases and 92 casualties during the last 24 hours. Health Minister Keshav Mahanta visited the Silchar Medical College and Hospital today to take stock of the COVID-19 management. Manaspatin Sharma, AR News, Guwahati.
Uttarakhand government has extended curfew in the state till the morning of 25th of May. Cabinet Minister Subudh Unial told media persons last night that only 20 persons will be allowed to attend a marriage ceremony, with all of them having negative RT-PCR report. He said doctors' prescription will be treated as curfew pass in the state. He said timings of banks will now be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mr. Unial said registration on state government portal is necessary to enter Uttarakhand from Uttar Pradesh border. In Chhattisgarh, the pandemic situation is improving rapidly. The positivity rate in the state has come down to around 10% from 30% last month. Meanwhile, the COVID vaccination campaign is also continuing in the state.
In Chhattisgarh, till now, more than 65 lakh people have been vaccinated against COVID-19. In the age group of 18 to 44 years, the first dose of COVID vaccine has been given to about 5 lakh people. The state government has created a separate web portal for vaccination of people of this age group. Along with conducting COVID tests on large scale, medicine kits are also being made available to suspected corona patients. So far, about 14 lakh medicine kits have been distributed to the suspected patients by the State Health Department. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
In Madhya Pradesh, the number of active COVID patients has come down to 88,983. The state reported 5,921 fresh cases and 77 deaths yesterday, while 11,513 persons recovered from the infection. More details from our Bhopal correspondent.
The COVID positivity rate declined to 9.1%. The weekly positivity rate of corona in 20 districts has come down by 10%. Both Indore and Bhopal have more than 13,000 active cases. The state government is actively making arrangements for treatment of black fungus at the early stage. Necessary equipment, naso-endoscope injections and medicines are being made available for this. As many as 24,102 COVID patients are being treated free of cost under the Mukhyamantri COVID Upchar Yojana. The government has spent rupees 4,443,000 on the treatment of patients under the scheme till now. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
Maharashtra Relief and Rehabilitation Minister Vijay Vadivar today said that he has written to the centre to send a central team to assess the situation and to provide financial assistance to the people affected due to the cyclonic storm. A report from our Mumbai correspondent.
Member of the Maharashtra COVID-19 Task Force, Dr. Pradeep Aute, said that between April 9 to 15 this year, as much as 58,000 daily cases were found in the state. This eventually came down to little above 44,000 last week. Out of the 35 districts, the decline in daily caseload has been witnessed in 17 districts. Nanded in Marathwada tops the list as there is 81% drop in new cases, followed by Mumbai at 77%, Thane 71%, Pune 23.47%. Apart from this, there has been respite from COVID in Bhandara, Nandurbar, Latur, Raigad, Jalna, Hingoli and Gondia districts. However, despite this silver lining, there are 18 districts where there has been no respite from fresh cases. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has said that Tamil Nadu Industrial Corporation would have a joint venture with the industries manufacturing oxygen concentrators, vaccines and medical equipments. In a statement today, he said that the expression of interest from such industries, which can invest a minimum of 50 crore rupees, should be sent to the state before the 31st of this month. The state government has been taking a number of steps to meet the oxygen demand and has been able to procure 110 metric tons of oxygen per day through rail. Oxygen is also being imported from other countries.
In Karnataka, the Health and Family Welfare Department has planned to establish black fungus treatment wards in Shivamogga, Kalaburgi, Mysuru, Hubballi and Mangaluru, apart from the one functioning in Bengaluru. Black fungus or mucormycosis is a noticed disease and hospitals have been asked to report such cases to the government. An expert panel has been set up by the government to find out whether the water used in humidifiers in hospitals is causing the fungus. More from our correspondent.
Black fungus is a post-COVID complication that is increasing due to the usage of ICU ventilators and humidifiers in those who have uncontrolled diabetes and are prescribed high dosage of steroids. The fungus enters to the nasal cavity and attacks the eyesight. There are 97 people infected with black fungus in the state and are being treated at the boarding hospital in Bengaluru. Amphotericin injection is being given for the treatment of the disease. The central government has approved 1,050 vials of this injection and has already supplied 450 vials. The state has also ordered 20,000 vials on its own. Deputy Chief Minister Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayana has called upon Global Innovation Alliance partner countries to join hands with Karnataka in exploring the possibilities of procuring essential drugs like amphotericin B, remdesivir and tocilizumab. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar has expressed grief over the demise of Dr. K.K. Agarwal. In a tweet today, the minister said Dr. Agarwal will be remembered for his indomitable dedication towards public welfare. Mr. Javadekar said Dr. Agarwal saved countless lives with his undeterred efforts of reaching out to the masses to raise awareness amidst the raging pandemic. A Padma Shri awardee, Dr. K.K. Agarwal, was a renowned cardiologist. He took his last breath last night after battling with COVID.
Indian classical singer of Dhrupad genre, Vasifuddin Dagar, has appealed to people to follow COVID protocols. He also says artists should approach newer platforms to express their talents in this difficult time.
ये संक्रमण जो हमारे पे आया है, इसमें यही है कि हम लोग पिछले साल जिस तरीके से लड़के हम लोग इससे उभर के आए हैं, इस साल भी अगर हम लोग वही चीजों का अगर एहतियात बरत लें, जैसे सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग है या अपने हाथ धोने का कोई क्रम है या अपने घरों में रह के जो भी कुछ काम कर सकते हैं उसको करिए। और इसी तरीके से आज तो हमारे पास एक बहुत अच्छा ये मीडियम है ऑनलाइन, तो इसी तरीके से अगर हम और समय अपने संगीत में और कलाओं में अगर लगा के हम कुछ न कुछ इसमें और कुछ प्रदान कर सकें, जिससे इस पूरे संसार में कुछ न कुछ अच्छा हो जाए, हमारे देश में अच्छा हो जाए। और हम सबको प्रण करना चाहिए कि हम जिस तरीके से इस महामारी से बच सकते हैं, इसको या बचा सकते हैं, अपने आप को बचाने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए।
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts aggressive testing, local containment zones and dissemination of complete and correct information to the public are the key weapons in fight against COVID-19. More than 18 crore 44 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. India witnesses declining trend in new COVID-19 cases, over 2,63,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate improves to 85.6%. Assam government suspends inter-district movement of persons and vehicles from Friday. Extremely severe cyclonic storm Tauktae weakens into severe cyclonic storm. Following Tauktae, Army continues rescue and relief work. Indian Navy rescues 177 personnel from barge P305. Badrinath portals opened under strict compliance with COVID-19 protocol. Noted Tamil writer K. Rajanarayanan passes away in Puducherry. United Nations, US and UK call for more protection for civilians caught in intense violence between Israel and Palestinian militants.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
Welcome back to the Midday News on All India Radio. Extremely severe cyclonic storm Tauktae has weakened into a severe cyclonic storm after hitting the Gujarat coast. Tauktae has now crossed the Gujarat coast and lies overland. Apart from Gujarat, the Tauktae also forced governments in coastal areas of Maharashtra, Kerala and Goa to issue alerts to its citizens and concerned authorities. Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu have also been put on high alert. Armed forces and the National Disaster Response Force (NDRF) have been carrying out evacuation operations. According to the latest IMD bulletin, severe cyclonic storm Tauktae now lay centered over Saurashtra, about 10 kilometers east of Amreli and 210 kilometers southwest of Ahmedabad. It is likely to move north-northeastwards and weaken gradually into a cyclonic storm and into depression by this evening. The Weather Office has warned of widespread rains with heavy to very heavy rainfall at isolated places in Saurashtra and Gujarat region following the impact of the cyclone. In Gujarat, Chief Minister Vijay Rupani today held a high-level meeting at the State Emergency Operations Centre in Gandhinagar to review the rescue and relief operations and take stock of the destruction caused by Tauktae. Army teams have been called in addition to more than 50 NDRF teams to help the local administrations in relief and rescue works. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that Tauktae, along with heavy rains and stormy winds with speed more than 150 km per hour, has left behind a trail of destruction along the Saurashtra coast. Meanwhile, the Army continues rescue and relief work in the areas affected by Cyclone Tauktae. 6 Army rescue and relief teams have been activated for the relief operations in Diu. These teams travelled for 12 hours, braving the cyclonic high-speed winds and rains to reach Diu. We have more from our correspondent.
Army teams have already restored the movement of essential supplies on Gir Somnath-Diu road worst hit by the cyclone. In a joint rescue operation, Coast Guard and NDRF jawans have rescued 8 fishermen and 2 fishing boats off Veeraval coast. Tauktae had left a trail of destructions on Saurashtra, putting the trees and bending the electrical poles on the roads in Amreli, Gir Somnath, Bhavnagar and adjoining coastal areas. Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani held a high-level meeting in Gandhinagar this morning and reviewed and relief operations. Yogesh Pandya, AR News, Ahmedabad.
Following the cyclonic storm Tauktae, the Indian Navy has been conducting search and rescue operations. A total of 177 personnel have been rescued so far from barge P305 by the Indian Navy. The barge Gull Constructor, with 137 persons on board, has run aground about 48 nautical miles north of Kolaba Point. An emergency towing vessel, Water Lily, 2 support vessels and CGS Samrat are in the vicinity for rendering assistance and evacuating the crew. INS Talwar is proceeding to render assistance to another oil rig, Sagar Bhushan, with 101 personnel on board, and an accommodation barge, SS3, with 196 personnel on board, both of which are adrift and presently located about 50 nautical miles southeast of Pipavav port.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah today spoke to the Chief Ministers of cyclone-affected states of Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Gujarat and the Administrator of the Union Territory of Dadra and Nagar Haveli to assess the ground situation and effect of Cyclone Tauktae. He reiterated the Centre's support in terms of any relief work in these states and the Union Territory. The cyclonic storm Tauktae is likely to enter the southwestern parts of Rajasthan today. The Met Department has issued a red alert for heavy rains with strong winds of 60 to 70 km per hour in Dungarpur, Sirohi, Udaipur, Jalore and Pali districts. Apart from this, an orange alert has been issued for 18 districts and yellow alert has been issued for 5 districts of the state. More from our correspondent.
In view of the possible impact of the storm, an alert has been issued across the state. Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot has appealed everyone to remain cautious. He said that disaster management teams have been deployed in the areas likely to be affected by the storm. The administration has made elaborate arrangements for uninterrupted supply of oxygen for COVID patients throughout the state and power supply in all the hospitals in case of emergency. Meanwhile, light to moderate rain has started in many districts of the state with strong winds since last night. Jitendra Dwivedi, AIR News, Jaipur.
In Uttarakhand, portals of Badrinath Shrine were opened this morning with traditional fervour and gaiety after the winter break. Portals were opened amid chanting of Vedic mantras and performance of other religious rituals. The temple was specially decorated with flowers to mark the occasion. Only priests and few senior district administration officials were present on the occasion due to COVID-19 pandemic. Social distancing and other COVID protocols were ensured during the opening of the portals. State government has suspended the Char Dham Yatra following the surge in COVID pandemic in the state. Noted Tamil writer K. Rajnarayanan died in Puducherry last night after a brief illness. He was 98. Fondly called as Kida, he was admired as a folklorist and father of Karisal, black soil land literature. He was a recipient of Sahitya Academy Award for his novel Gopalapurathu Makkal in the year 1991. He also served as a member of Sahitya Academy General Council and Advisory Board from 1998 to 2002. Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Tamilisai Soundararajan and Chief Minister N. Rangasamy expressed condolence on his demise.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, former Union Minister and senior BJP leader Professor Chaman Lal Gupta passed away this morning due to post-COVID-19 complications. He was Union Minister of State for Defence, Food Processing and Civil Aviation. Prime Minister Modi has expressed grief over the demise of Chaman Lal Gupta. In a tweet today, Mr. Modi said, Mr. Gupta will be remembered for numerous community service efforts and he was a dedicated legislator and strengthened the BJP across Jammu and Kashmir.
BJP today alleged that the Congress is using the corona pandemic for political purposes. Party spokesman Sambit Patra said in New Delhi that Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is wanting to use this opportunity of the pandemic to spoil the image of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The BJP spokesman said Congress toolkit in extending help to the needy during the pandemic is a more of a PR exercise. Congress, on the other hand, has alleged that BJP is propagating a fake toolkit on COVID-19 and attributing it to Congress. Party spokesperson Rajiv Gowda said they are filing a complaint in this regard. The UN, the US and the UK have called for more protection for the civilians caught in intense violence between Israel and Palestinian militants. An international concern was sparked after the footage of children being pulled from the rubble in Gaza and people running for shelter surfaced. The conflict is now in its second week with little sign of a ceasefire. More than 212 people, including 61 children, have died in Gaza and 10, including 2 children, in Israel. The world's leaders and humanitarian organizations are urging for measures to be taken to avoid residents being hurt, killed, or having their lives upended by the destruction. Now let us take a look at the weather report and forecast for today. The national capital Delhi is having thunderstorm with rain. Kolkata is having partly cloudy sky with the possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Chennai is witnessing thunderstorm with rain. Srinagar is facing a clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards evening. Jammu is having mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards evening. Leh is seeing a mainly clear sky. Gilgit is having partly cloudy sky. The temperature will move from a minimum of 15 to a maximum of 29 degrees Celsius. In Muzaffarabad, the sky is sunny. Dehradun is experiencing thunderstorm with hail. And in Chandigarh, the sky is generally cloudy with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts aggressive testing, local containment zones and dissemination of complete and correct information to the public are the key weapons in fight against COVID-19. More than 18 crore and 44 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. India witnesses declining trend in new COVID-19 cases, over 2,63,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate improves to 85.6%. Assam government suspends inter-district movement of persons and vehicles from Friday. Extremely severe cyclonic storm Taute weakens into severe cyclonic storm. Following Taute, Army continues rescue and relief work. Indian Navy rescues 177 personnel from barge P305. Badrinath portals opened under strict compliance with COVID-19 protocol. Noted Tamil writer K. Rajnarayanan passes away in Puducherry. United Nations, US and UK call for more protection for civilians caught in intense violence between Israel and Palestinian militants. And with that, we end the Midday News.